Hi, everybody. This is Allison from Alley Cat Creations. How are you? Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already. And if you get anything from my work, a Connect Dot, an Epiphany, a Mind Explosion, a new book to read, a new author to explore, please consider supporting my work. All the links are at the bottom of this description under the video. If you would like pyramids, skulls that has gems inside, paintings, I do custom drawings. Check out my website, alisonkatz.com. And if you're interested in anything, Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I have some heart things there that are unique and different. Um, Email me. That way I can do things privately. I also have a 3D membership on my channel. It's just a 3D. It's just another way to help sustain this channel and keep it going and keep the internet bills paid. Currently looking for another provider because my bill just came in and holy crap, just like everything else. So, not fun at all. So, yes, today we're going to read The Voice of Isis, Chapter 9, The Self. Very excited for this one, and I hope you are too. I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live, and whoever so liveth and believeth in me shall never die. St. John. Quote, saith the great law, in order to become the knower of all self, thou hast first of self to be the knower. To reach the knowledge of that self, thou hast to give up self to non-self. Being to non-self, then thou canst repose between the wings of the great bird, bestride the bird of life, if thou wouldest know. The Voice of Silence, Blavatsky, Fragment 1. The I am, which is the resurrection, the life, is the true self. We are dead when our consciousness is identified with the lower personal self and bounded by the mortal body and its functions. The personal self, however, can be made a good and faithful servant. Hence, it is not to be despised, killed out, and swallowed up in the way so frequently interpreted, for without it, the real self could not gain the experience of physical existence. It is a garment worn to protect the real self from the coarse and harsh vibrations of physical life, just as a diver dons a diving suit to protect him from the pressure of the water when he wishes to explore the ocean depths. But if it loses touch with the higher self, it is doomed, just as is the diver when he loses touch with the upper world and his supply of air is cut off. If you are wedded to the idea of the lower personal self and consider it all important or all there is, you must reach a stage of growth in which your ideals, your enthusiasm and zest in life, which at one time gushed forth like a mountain fresheth, must die or lose themselves in the sands of earth conditions, or be dried up by the hot scorching sun of criticism and worldly disapproval. But if you bestride the bird of life, or hold for your central idea the thought of the I am, not the mere personality, but the higher divine self, or the Christos, even those former ideals, though dead, shall rise again, be spiritualized, and never die. Just as the diver, if he holds fast to his supply of his source of supply, he will be enabled to do his work and when it is accomplished, will rise into the upper air and take off his clumsy accoutrements. Should he think, however, that the diving suit was himself, or should he lose his memory of the higher world, he could never rise from the depths and return to his real home. Sorry, guys, I'm a little bit under the weathers. I know, I feel like I'm always under the weather recently. But again, this time I think I have a cold. So I do apologize. If in the face of all obstacles you go on trusting and centering your ideals on the true self, which is immortal, your faith can never die, for you will know that the real self can never be affected by the changing conditions of earth life. This is bestriding the bird of life. As long as you hold firmly to the idea, you hold the reins, which shall guide the bird of life throughout eternity. The I is the only symbol in the alphabet that stands both for deity, the straight vertical line symbolizing spirit descending into matter, and for personality. As you advance along the path and reach up through and above the personality and follow the straight line upward into divinity, the personality blends into and becomes the individuality. The Son becomes one with the Father. The small letter I symbolizes the personality before its spiritual awakening. The self, perpendicular line, overshadowed by the higher self, the dot, who as yet cannot manifest on the earth except as the germ of that which the lower self can reach up and merge into. That's what we're doing right now. The perpendicular line must reach up and merge into the dot before it can become the I capitalized. Even the materially minded recognize that the only path to worldly success is implicit faith and belief in yourself. This is but the lowest octave of the true success, which results when you raise your belief from the personal self to the real self. The relative value of the real self and the personal self may be represented by a capital I painted in gold upon a dark, shadowy background designed to make the golden letter more conspicuous. The personality must always be the shadow on earth of the real I, its office being to emphasize and give perfect expression to the real self. It made its golden light stand out the more brilliantly because of the shadow. This process is happening to many of us right now. We're merging the dot. Most of us already have the dot emerged. We're just finishing off that top layer of the I to become capitalized. Manifested life is compared to the great bird. There's an Indian word there. I can't read it. I've tried. Not coming out. For just as a bird grows to maturity and lays an egg out of which hatches another bird, so the cycles of manifestation emerge from the world egg, mature and deposit their eggs, Laya centers, out of which new manifestations, manvaratas, of activity emerge. The winged globe and the winged wheel have the same symbology, namely, the time is fleeting but is forever progressing. This symbol is often called the winged eternity. Eternity only in its eternal renewal of manifestation. The bird of life called Kalahamza or black swan. Black because unmanifested symbolizes the higher or divine self. The I am that I am, hence to bestride the bird of life. means to be master of all the manifesting expressions through which this great bird or winged wheel is passing, just as a rider must control the master, his fiery steed. Our text, therefore, points out the possibility of such mastery and the only way by which it can be obtained, by an understanding of the self, merging the personality into the individuality over the straight line of your awakened spiritual consciousness. To accomplish this, think of yourself as one with the silent thinker, the great oversoul, the self, the bringer forth of all things, and swallow up the little personal self in this greater conception of selfhood. Always think of the real self as an emanation from or an expression of the divine, of which you, the personal self, are but the shadow. While you should make the personal self a perfect shadow or reflection of the divine, still, even after that is accomplished, it must take its proper place as the humble servant of the self. If you make a sincere effort to do this, how much of misery, of unhappiness, of trouble will fall away from your life? As we have said in other work, O ye seekers for the way, to you comes a message from all the spheres through which the spirit of life eternal presses onward, pulsating, rising, falling, beating the outward form into nothingness, that the immortal spirit of all things may be revealed to you, this soundless sound. What does this mean? This beating into nothingness. What is this outer form? It is the personality, your life in the outer world. But it must all these things, my business, my pleasures, my friendships, be beaten into nothingness. Yes, if they so completely occupy your attention that they prevent the real self from manifesting. For once you have set out upon the path of true mastery, once having chosen to live the higher life, you have registered your desire and your willingness to let this self manifest, and all the forces of the universe will work together to fulfill your vow. Therefore, be not amazed at anything that happens to the little self, but instead ask why. Why? Pause. That's mind-blowing in a good way. What do I keep asking everybody to do when I'm doing videos and doing the why questioning? Why is this happening for me, to me? Why am I here? Why did I come here? I ask this all the time. Because when you ask yourself, the door might not be open just yet for many people to find their why to the extreme, but start unlayering your whys. Go deep, go in depth, ask upstairs, ask your higher self, and eventually those answers will come. That which holds you back is the personal self. Almost every trouble that confronts you to center in this little self and what others think of that self. Perhaps you are so humble that you think constantly of how little you are and dwell upon it so that it is impossible for the silent thinker to inspire you, perhaps to do a great work. Perhaps you magnify every little deviation from that conduct which you have decided makes for spiritual growth. Perhaps instead of keeping your mind on your higher self, you're watching to see what others think of your beliefs, striving to shape your life to meet their approval or trying to live up to what others consider a spiritual life, instead of listening to the silent speaker and following your own divine guidance. Perhaps you are following some great ambition, trying to accomplish some great thing for humanity. Perhaps some slight to the little self occupies your whole attention, perhaps some grief. There may be many seemingly laudable excuses given for allowing the little self to occupy the center of the stage in your life. But whatever they are, if you're honest with yourself, true and serious in your desire to be united to the mind of the silent thinker, you must admit that it is self that is occupying your attention and bringing about your troubles. This is comparable to the ignorance of the illiterate person who uses a small letter, I, where a capital I is indicated. For the little I is always subordinate and should never stand alone, but would not long fret or worry if, instead of focusing your attention upon the little self, it needs its joys, its sorrows, its slights, or perhaps its honors, you permit it to be swallowed up in an effort to realize your divine self. To think of the personal self only as a vehicle or expression or shadowy background on the physical plane of the great self, the higher self. Which a lot of us are still in that transformation form currently. I know I am. Um, and this sticks true to, again, what I say. When I ask you, I don't want you to believe me. I want you to go inside your heart space. I don't think anybody sees reality the way that I perceive it, which is fine. I want you to perceive it in your way. When the CNN syndrome comes in and you're being dictated to, are you just objectively listening to it and only taking what comes into your heart resonance? Or are you saying that you're discerning the information, but really you're just hook, line, and sinker into the carrot dangling on the stick, and now you're stuck to that carrot, but it's still running over there. And you're trying to wrangle it in and you can't. What's steering your ship and what's renting space up into your mind? There's a lot going on nowadays in the outside world. There's a lot of conflict between black and white, good and evil, this and that. It's polarity, it's duality. And you got to shed those ideas and those things. We're all one, individuated. We are the shadowy self. We are infinite. We're fractals in so many things. And we got to see the bigger picture and evolve. If we keep going back to the past, it's going to repeat itself, but we're going to get stuck on a loop. Many dream of a grand work for humanity, but the little self sets boundaries upon it or decides what the work is to be, thus allowing many opportunities to go by while waiting for what they have decided is to mark the beginning of the great work. While the great work which each soul has to accomplish is born from the higher self, it must be accomplished through the little self or personality. Hence, the events which mark its beginning will be just those which the little self can accomplish, and by such accomplishments grow into greater things. To sit with folded hands for a miraculous beginning is just as disastrous as to try to use a capital I where the small I is needed. Again, it must born into mind that the work of each self will be brought to that personality by the great law, that it will never be another's work. Yes. I've been trying to express this, and this does it beautifully. if we keep constantly waiting for other people to usher in a financial system, usher in the golden age, and usher in all these beautiful things that I believe all of us deserve. Okay, I'm not saying that we don't. But if you're not actually putting physical work into making those manifestations occur without any expectations what it's going to look like, this is a big major lesson that I hope that people take away from. For the last couple of years, everybody's been projecting all kinds of stuff, and they're beautiful ideas, and it would definitely help humanity. But we have expectations of time, of what it's going to look like, who's going to deliver it, and all these things, which we should not be doing, because then it's not going to come. Or it will come in the ways that we're not expecting, and then your heart breaks because it's not the way you thought it would be. I'm not one to say that things aren't going to happen. I think things are definitely going to happen. I just want people to lower their expectations or not have them at all and just go through your everyday life and enjoy the moment. I literally lost Odin on Tuesday. I'm devastated in some form and fashion, but I'm celebrating his life. I am not allowing it to lower my vibrations. I'm in a good state. I have pipes that I had no running water in my house for a few days. Like today was like the best day ever. I got to shower, got to do my laundry, I got to wash my dishes. I was like happy. Uh, I got to get things fixed, and I am sure I will get them fixed. But I'm not worried about. I'm working. I'm putting myself forward. I'm taking myself forward. I'm not living in the past, and I'm not allowing the past to dictate to me what my future steps should be. I see a bigger picture, and I just hope you guys do too. Each personality is in very truth array from its higher self, but in passing through earth conditions, it has become clouded, obscured, distorted, just as a ray of light became distorted by passing through a dense medium. Therefore, no person should try to pattern his life after that of another, or after another's ideals, but after the ideal life of the soul as set forth in the allegorical life of the Christ man Jesus. He should take account of his own disposition and idiosyncrasies and seek to find the original intent of every and each characteristic or the germ of good within every fault. For this reason, know thyself is the watchword rather than to pattern another after another, but that other ever so godlike. For in the grand plan, while all are one in the unity of the Godhead, so each atom or personality has its own part to play and is endowed with tendencies and characteristics, which, when corrected and sublimed, will fit it to take its own place, a place no other can ever fill. Since your personality is the distorted image of your higher self, it should be your first duty to straighten it out and discard the awryness due to the elusiveness of the medium through which it is functioning and permit it truly to express the real self. The important point to remember, therefore, is not to copy the actions of others or try to square your life, Jesus, with the ideas of others, but bravely seek deep within your own being for the germs of action implanted in the personality for the higher self, and make the personality measure up to the ideal given you by your own higher self. In other words, find yourself, do your own thinking, and live true to your own divine guidance. Ding, 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 ding. We are wont to consider selfish those who desire only happiness for the self, or who refuse to let others have what they desire. We think ourselves very unselfish. If perchance we strive to appear meek, seem humble, eager to talk about our littleness and the greatness of others, and to prefer others to ourselves. But the truth is, and would we speak it in tones that would vibrate from pole to pole, that it is just as selfish to permit your humility to occupy the foreground in your thoughts and continually impose it upon the thoughts of others as to continually seek your own pleasure. For even though you are dwelling upon your own unworthiness, nevertheless, it is the little self that is occupying your attention. The little self is your servant and must be set to work in the vineyard of your life, and not stand all day idle waiting for the Christ to come and give it work in the great vineyard of humanity. On the other hand, many teachers gain a considerable following by reiterating their own greatness, sanctuary, and claims to holiness. They talk much of their wonderful experiences, their illumination, and their Christ-like character, and followers like sheep flock to them. Oh, we are seeing this all so much right now. But if each soul will do his or her own thinking, such claims to sanctity will at once arouse suspicion. For all scriptures and occult authorities proclaim in no uncertain way that whoever so shall exalt himself shall be abased. The true teacher must have evolved beyond the little personal self and, to some extent, merge his consciousness into the divine. Hence, neither seeks nor permits adulation or worship for himself, but lets the divine in him speak through his teachings. And that's what I hope that I'm doing for others. Let your deep abiding aims, your aspirations be ever upward. In fact, bestride the bird of life and soar into heavenly realms. Forget to look down to earth. If you stumble, do not waste a moment's thought over it, but remember the lesson from it and say, I must be up and doing. That is past and gone, and it shall not hold me back. Truly, nothing can hold you back unless you hold to it. If the bird of life is chained to a perch, it cannot fly. It warbles not, nor can it stir a feather. But the songster, mute and tortured, sits, and of exhaustion dies. If you were running a race and tripped and fell, would you waste time carefully inspecting the spot where you fell and wondering how it happened? No. You would be up and on, intent only on reaching the goal, not even conscious of the bruises you have received. Thus must you run this race, which ends in mastery. Be so intent on climbing the mountain that you have no time to think of your hurt feelings, no time to sit and cry, no time to enumerate either your personal grievances and slights, or your honors and exhalations, no time to grieve over lack of appreciation of your efforts by those around you. While you are not to go over and over in your mind the things belonging to the little personal self, still you must not waste your opportunities. Do your full duty in life, be kind, loving, just, and true. Yet always have your gaze fixed upon high and on the realization of your oneness with the real self, like a thread of fire forever penetrating your being, filling your consciousness. The little self continually seeks to sit upon the throne of the higher self. And when you think you have made it the servant in regard to earthly things, it begins to assert itself on the higher planes as spiritual selfishness and spiritual pride. Determine that you will not remain identified with the servant, the personality, but will identify yourself with the master, the higher self. This life is but one day in the school of your soul. Your real life is not at school, but at home in your Father's house. If things in school do not go just as you would have them, nevertheless, realize that everything that belongs to you or is a part of your soul is yours upon the soul plane. There are many expressions of the soul, and these expressions may manifest in absolutely different ways upon the different planes. It's explaining the fractals. That which belongs to you is yours upon the soul plane, therefore accept it upon the plane. But do not insist upon its physical expression also until the great law brings it to you. For its physical expression may not be for the personal self during this day at school. And if it does not belong to the personal self, why pin the self down to the little self, which, while learning its lessons in school, must have many of its beautiful possessions kept from it until study hours are over. You only prolong the deprivation by refusing to pay attention to your lessons. For you thereby attract earthly atoms which do not belong to the real self, and which must be taken from you, making the little self bleed and suffer. You are like a ship, which, while in the ocean, if it blown temporarily from its course, is it still victor over currents, winds, tides, and storms? But if this same ship anchors for a time in ever so beautiful a harbor, it will become covered with the barnacles, things that do not belong to it. And the longer it lies there, the greater the incrustation. The only way it can be set free is to have the barnacle scraped off, a painful process. Try to understand and realize that anything you cling to for the mere gratification of the personal self, no matter how desirable it may seem, is but a barnacle holding your soul, your spiritual advancement, your spiritual advance. Your higher self has now everything necessary for its perfection and will and must scrape off the barnacles, or it can indraw the little self into its own divine consciousness and perfection. Dwell then in the higher self, which does not need the physical expression you desire, but the reality in the oneness of the immortal soul of all, forever in the Godhead. One of the greatest temptations of those who are progressing and beginning to develop their higher consciousness is to think that they have reached the point where divine illumination of conscious oneness with the higher self is soon to take place. So instead of merging their consciousness into the divine, they develop a great spiritual ambition for the little self to have an experience which shall shift them above their fellows and give them prestige. This is one of the most suitable temptations of the little self, which must be clearly guarded against. Yes. I want to make this clear. As much as I have done my reading and my knowledge, there are way bigger percentages of people that have this mastered. I am not a master. And most of us are in the bandwidth of the higher frequencies, but we're still doing the waveform. I have not hit that line yet. It's a work in progress, and I'm not alone in that. But there are some people out there who what I just read expresses this. When you use your gifts and your abilities for humanity, there are a big chunk out there that are really a service to self that isn't making it accessible for people financially. There are other people who are on a bigger bandwagon that they're the authority and what they say is what it goes. And there's no delineation and delineating from it. They're the end all be all of all expression of all the information. They're the only ones that have experiences, and you can't do it because the evil things are going to get you. Does that sound like a couple of people out there? What are they fulfilling? I am not special. I'm just like everybody else. What I came here to do for my mission is to help you think and go within. You're not going to perceive my reality. Your path is not my path, but merge together with all the beautiful souls coming in with their beautiful abilities, their amazingness. We could shift and we can merge together and go through this experience together for the things that we want to prefer, that we want to manifest, that we want to bring into this physicality. And we can and we will. It's just a matter of more and more of us awakening and finding the self, merging that dot to capitalize that I, and lessening that wave function. So it's still going to wave, but it isn't waving as much. Instead of going all the way up and down, it's only doing this. And many of us are practicing and honing in on those skills. What they're saying sounds simple, but doing the work, knowing yourself, knowing your authentic self, walking your truth, walking the light ahead, forward, moving the pendulum forward into the positive, it's not easy because you're confronted with all the lessons and experiences that you have to go through in order to gain the wisdom for your soul attainment of growth. This stuff is not easy. And I don't know too many people who are very humble about their abilities that, no, you're not supposed to give a reading free, but you're not charging people over the amount that yeah, sure, you might be the most skilled medium ever. But charging $500 to $600 for an hour to talk to a dead loved one when someone else out there with the same ability can do it for 100. Oh, I could take all those implants out of you. And how are you so sure that you even have them? Did you go within? Or are you allowing other people to put and impress things on you that might or may exist? I'm not saying those things don't exist, but does it exist within you? That's steering fear as well by telling somebody, oh, you have a lot of alien implants in you. Well, unless you physically get it out of you. And I know people that have. Then I can say, oh no, you truly have it. But when you're talking to the etherical realm and you don't trust that you don't have a team that's protecting you, and maybe that might be a part of your soul plan. Just a lot of things to consider that last part. It show if you really broke this down and analyzed all the people that you might listen to or watch and put this into the back of your head, you'll start seeing things unravel. You'll start seeing the agendas and the narratives being seared. I'm sorry going off topic with the book, but I was in the Zoom today from Buckshot. It was fantastic. I left to do this, and there are some people that you could see when they're talking, they're finally going to do the digging and doing the work and putting their spiritual boundary down that they're not going to allow certain things to hit them anymore. They're now seeing the programming and not just from that one negative side, but they're seeing it from the positive too. Right? You don't want to believe that the side that you chose that is of the light, we want to like false light, but let's just say light, that they're now seeing, well, if you're going to be authentic and you're going to be of the light and of Christ consciousness, are you walking your authentic self by allowing a program and a narrative to sear in your mind and rent space up there that people keep projecting, oh, this stuff is going to happen, it's 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 going to happen, week after month after year after decade. And it's still a waiting game. Like, why are you waiting? Live your life. If it happens, fantastic. I'm all for it. But I'm not allowing a time dilation. I am not allowing a concept to rent space in my head. Because when I did that, if I would have went along with what everybody else was saying, I would have been homeless. I'm glad I went into myself. I checked in with myself, and I now see the bigger picture. And it's not a popular opinion. It's not popular, the things that I think, but it, it's common sense. People are very disillusioned in thinking because they're hearing people talk about it that it must be and it's going to happen. The remote viewer pinpointed this timeline and it's definitely going to happen. They're going to Jack in a box going to pop out and the truth is revealed. It's not going to happen that way. And for all the people that are going through the ascension process and are just starting, just know that this world isn't a reflection. You're the shadow in it, and you have to become the light. And that takes multiple lifetimes, multiple steps in your evolution. There's no one person that has the authority because no one person sees reality the same, perceives it the same, or lives it the same as you as an individual self. You create your reality. Own it. Collectively, we all created this together unconsciously. It's now tapping into the unconscious collective to make it conscious. That's the difficult part. Leaving other people out, defiling people, or pointing out people's problems and what they are and identifying and labeling, that needs to stop. I'm being honest and truthful from what I get and channel from upstairs. This book is be on it. Be concerned with just yourself. Stop worrying about what other people choose. If they want to express as something on the negative side, stop feeding it. Stop identifying with it. Stop labeling it. Just let them be. If it goes against the law, eventually the person who wrote a contract that they were going to be the police or they were going to be the ones that put justice in the world, let them take care of it. If it doesn't concern you, It doesn't affect you. Why are you allowing it to rent space in your head and then you're judging that other self? We all have roles in this realm. All of us. That's why we're here. And when our role is fulfilled, we transcend to the light or to the other planes of existence that God is expressing itself in. Please be aware. There are a lot of people who are putting a lot of things out into the ether that is a narrative and a program to steer you and distract you from doing the work on yourself. That doesn't ever stop in your life. But when you can actually start saying what they're saying, your life will be way better for it. It's hard and it's difficult. But they're not saying anything different that I haven't said, and I'm just reading this for the first time, and it's mind-blowing. You can carry the burdens of the little self only along the first steps on the path. Long ere you enter the fourth gate, you must have left them behind. Like Christian pilgrim's progress, you must find them falling from your shoulders into the abyss and be able to let them go without a murmur. The abyss is the only place for that of the lower self, which cannot be swallowed up, digested, transmuted, and permitted to manifest under and within the great divine self. That's the process we're shedding right now. And I say we are purging. Tear from your eyes the bandages of darkness and ignorance. Why will you suffer so long? Why put between you and all loving great souls who are anxious to help you such a barrier, such a tremendous barrier as this lower self and its petty concerns? The spirit within you is immortal, divine. The soul of you is part of the soul of the heavenly man, and you owe it to your own soul to work with all your powers for humanity. This you cannot do while your horizon is filled with the little self. While you remember that you are a separate entity or anything but an expression of your true higher self, who is one with the divinity, the real self being one with all, is concerned only that the personal self learn the lessons necessary to bring it into the conscious at one minute with the divine. Hence refuses to be turned aside from its purpose by the little trials and tests the personal self has to pass through. It sees only the great end, only the divine power working through the little selves and leading humanity up to the divine. The self must become the true self, the higher self. And that we are working on currently in humanity. As you're going through the many ego deaths, because ego has many aspects to it, your higher self is merging with your ego. That old self is going into that abyss. You can't transmute it. It needs to leave. It needs to go over there. Bye. Thank you. I say this all the time, and they're confirming it. It's a journey that is difficult because we're all on different levels of this path. And there is no ending really to this path because we haven't hit a higher density yet. And then we're going to start again at zero and work our way through that density. Consciously, many of us have leaps and bounds in the quantum field. Trust me. And I'm proud of so many of you who are doing the work. Many people are just not ready yet. And I can give so much compassion and grace to them. Everybody has their own divine orchestration and divine timing. And we have to honor that and not judge those who choose not to see it just yet. So many people scream Yeshua at the top of their lungs and yet have not understood a damn thing that man, whatever entity was influencing him, whether he be Anunnaki, whether he be a starseed, whatever you think his story is. Okay, the moral of what he was trying to do is he came and helped and served all, not just a few, not just who he chose, anybody that walked up to him. There was a lot of resistance. And I feel many of us who are speaking in this similar way and on this similar path are having that same resistance. But we're not giving up. This is not easy work. This is very difficult work. This is very painful work. It's letting go of that little self. But you still have to function in 3D. That's the trial. And many of us are passing through our trials and tribulations. We're helping each other out. We're coming together as unified as we can be in the now moment to make it through. All of us serve a purpose. All of us have major missions, and it's up to you to discover what that is. I know for myself, I'm supposed to be with the children. I'm supposed to be in physicality with them. I'm supposed to be giving you guys messages from my higher self, that source. Whatever's coming through me came through them. It's up to you to heart align with it or not. And it's okay that you don't, but at least you have the expansion of thought. That's how you get your mind to think big, is to expand your thinking. I don't like all the books that are behind me. There are some books that I read that I just absolutely don't agree with, but I still read them to get a different perspective. That's the lovely thing about this time of now. When you're in the awareness that you are the one that creates your reality, you are the only one that perceives your reality the way that you do. There's a lot of similarities into what a lot of us perceive. There's a lot of emotional states that feel very similar, but they're not identical and they're not ever going to be the same. Meet people for where they are at, for they know not. Use that term if you must. And walk the path of light, the true path, not a false one. Go inside your gut and follow your light. Light the damn way forward. You got to do it for yourself. I can't force you to do it. I can't force you to do the work. Ego deaths are very, very, very painful, and they suck. And we're going to go through multiple. It's like the dark night of the soul, but with the ego, and it's not fun. Do you think I find it fun that I don't feel a part of a community that I love and cherish? It's not easy, but I cannot follow. Spiritual boundaries are up. I can't follow people who are in constant hate and disillusionment of reality. I still love them. I still give them my heart. I give them my compassion. I give them but I can no longer be a part of something. I can support, I can love and cherish, but being in the chat and trying to, it's a waste of my time. People know how to find me. People know how to support me. People know that I'm just reading books, but the books are pretty much what I've been saying. And especially this chapter Mind blown. Sorry, I have my coffee. I'm running on fumes right now. Next time, I'll read the Doctrine of Avatara. This should become even better. So, guys, please do the inner work. Ask your why questions. And it's okay if you don't find the answers. They're not going to come to you right away, and they might not come for years. I've been asking certain questions of myself for a very long time, and some of those questions got answered. Some of them, those answers took years to find out. And I still haven't gotten a couple of things answered. And I'm still asking deeper and deeper and deeper questions. Things are still being revealed to me. It's a process, and you have to allow it to unfold how you wrote it. But we don't remember how we wrote it, so we have to move through the motions. We have to go through with this little self of ours, this cute little body, and just have those experiences and go through it and figure out along the way, maybe reflect back. I do a lot of introspection because I take myself and I look and reflect back from that moment to my carnation. What the fuck? Why did I choose this? Well, really, really, why did I choose this? I've been doing a lot of that this week when it came to Odin. Why would I choose that? Why would I choose that for him? Why would he choose that for himself? You know, but whatever lesson I'm supposed to learn, I don't know what that is, but he's going to be human, and I'm happy that I was the one that was able to cross him over and be there for his last breaths. And that to me is the most important part of my journey, is being that pillar of light for others. And I hope that all of you are pillars of light for those around you. Sending each and every one of you love, light, compassion, grace, shielding, and protective energy. Please go within. Be the shoulder. Be the lighthouse. Seed your truths. And I hope to see you all in the next one. I'm most likely going to do a paint and sip tomorrow. I have to see how I feel. But I will get one out tomorrow. Don't know what I'm painting yet, but we'll figure that out as we go along. Until the next one, guys, thank you for your support, your love, your generosity, my gratitude to each and every one of you. And until the next one, guys, bye for now.